So when it comes to variances, there are only two reasons for variances. It can either be price variance or quantity variance. If you really think any kind of variance, it will definitely fall into these two categories only. Either there was a quantity variance, for example, sales, you could not sold what you wanted to sell, or the let's say new competition came in, prices went down. Right? You go to cost also, you go to people also, indirectly they will fall, and the back end reason behind two can be, one is market and one can be inefficiency of system. You could not sold not because they were not ordered, because you were producing faulty products again and again, you were having higher wastage, so your cost went up. But generally your variances will fall into these categories only. So now when we do variance analysis, first it should be timely exercise. Second, I suggest every promoter should keep 3 hours a month just to have the variance analysis details, because this not only gives you bad things, it also gives you a lot of good things happening in the company. But purpose of the budget is not to find mistakes. The purpose of the budget is also to see where best practices are happening. For example, you have spent more in marketing. For example, your sale budget was 20 crores. You got 22 crores. That means something has changed in the market. Either market demand has increased. Okay, you need to know that also, right? It's not that you have done 20 crore budget, that means you have to achieve 20 crore only. If you think that there is a demand in the market, that is why I did 25 crore rupees or 22 crore rupees, or the prices have gone up. If you find those reasons, you might realize, okay, maybe my marketing budget was 3 crores, but there seems to be all of the sudden more demand. I will put 2 crore more. This is called flexible budgeting. So you see the favorable variances as well. And not only look for negative numbers. So favorable variances can give you benefits in this sense. But if you don't see this number, you will not get a bigger picture as such, only what you see from what you hear from the sales guys. Similarly, one second. How to study variances? As I said, there can be two types of variances, favorable and non-favorable. What you think variances is budget versus actuals, right? There are two types of actually variances that you can see. One is this static variance that we talk about, budget versus actual. There is something in the called trend variances that has nothing to do with the budget. Those trend variances gives you a lot more than what you budget, because you can budget wrong. So if you see variance, doesn't mean you feel bad about it or you're negative about it. First, your budget could have been wrong. First, verify that. So when you get variance, means you investigate, nothing else. First, was budget wrong? Was your budget budget planning wrong? Did your accountant actually did the actual booking wrong? See, I may have a bill of 20 lakh rupees. Instead of April, I booked in May. My April look also looked wrong. May also looks wrong. Those are the reasons for the variance is first to be verified, because generally those are also the reasons for the variances. Then you further investigate. So there is no way to handle variance. Was any decision wrong? Did customer behavior change, or did the market price change? These are the 3-4 answers where it fit. But you have to investigate. And when you ask a reason for variance, and if a guy is saying, I don't know, which generally, or I will figure it out, without any, then it is a bigger problem. Means nobody had any idea is definitely a bigger problem. So these are the how budget process should be handled, and investigate till you find the problem. Okay, another thing in budget variance is that you just cannot be doing root cause analysis, right? You have 100 things more to do. That means first figure it out, is it a temporary problem or a long-term problem? Don't waste your time on short-term problem. Let's say fuel prices has gone up and the logistic cost had gone up, but you know prices will come down. Then this is something doesn't require your attention for a while. You can leave it to something. But if
who takes ownership of finding out the root cause of the variance?
Finance team will investigate most probably. See, as I said, there were 4 guys, right? They have to justify. You ask them question, next time they will come back with the answers. So purpose of this budgeting is to actually not find mistakes in people or person. You actually investigate, and sometimes budget really gives you problems we never thought of, and it gives you an improvement, some cost improvements which are permanent. For example, out of budget you get rate variance, and generally when discussing you realize there is a substitute product, raw material also for something which you never thought of replacing in your ingredients. Let's say in manufacturing there are 20 items which you assemble together or you melt together, let's say for anything. There were substitution available. When you go deeper into this, all these ideas will come out. Did that answer? So basically, when best practices is do think of long term and short term problems also. Long term problem has to be addressed. Short term problem will come and go. Second thing, 3-4 best practices is that if you have spend more at some places, if you want to really be disciplined, then please save at some other place. It's one thing is okay, this was out of control thing, I could not control it, but you really want to achieve your budget, then save at some other place.
Yeah, that's what we talked about interest also, right? We have to ensure that we finally get to the PAT number.
Also, we need to figure it out the timing of the variance also. Not only why it has happened, when it has happened, because it tells you a lot. That is what the trend variance is. Variance is like you compare your last month, you compare your last year, same month. That is only applicable where business is way too seasonal and season is also consistent. Generally, otherwise, the last year, same month does not reflect a good picture in many businesses. I mean, for example, insurance and all it will throw because it is just before the year end and all. So those can be comparable. But study all those variances. Review or fixed cost. It is not part of the budget, but personally we suggest we don't review fixed cost. Review or fixed cost. And then in the budgeting exercise also, people will come and say, I need this expenditure, I can achieve better. But there is a suggested rule, a suggested item that I suggest is that incur a new fixed cost only if you have increased your revenue. It's easy to incur a fixed cost, it is difficult to remove a fixed cost. Even I am your employee, if I have been given one privilege in canteen, if you remove it, I will not feel. Had you not given me, I was okay. But if you have given me a privilege and if you remove it, it is difficult. So during the budget exercise, people get lot of requests for new business costs. Commit new fixed costs, but only commit fixed costs when you have some increment in the top line also.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, absolutely. I think there is one point which I want to really articulate is about understanding seasonality in your business. We actually, when we looked at it, we found that there are seasonality involved in cost, seasonality involved in revenue, seasonality involved in certain geographies as well. So I think if you have a better understanding of seasonality, will be a very good thing. For example, I will tell you, when we realized that, there are more number of customers visiting CFO Bridge website on Monday morning. We just figured it out. We looked at a lot of data and we just thought it is just one isolated incident. When we looked at a trend over a period of time, it has happened Monday after Monday after Monday over last 2 years time. Then we started, positioning advertisements on Monday morning. I'm just saying these are all things you don't need to understand why people come to you on Monday morning. Take advantage of it. That's all. And can something be done? So expenditures, certain things are bought. I mean, the big billion days is, let us not think that big billion days has got only to do with Amazon and Flipkart doing. Because of so much of advertisement that big billion days is coming, people are generally, it's more for Vikram, right? People are more interested in buying during that time. Anything. Not necessarily in Amazon. Every single website has reported significant sales, B2C websites, during that time. So, if I am thinking that he is advertising, he is making money, if I have not taken any action during that time, I will tend to lose. So, it is certain things are now seasonally influencing people's behavior to spend. Certain things are now, so we don't know why, but it is. Let's not get into the why, but at least let's take advantage of that. But it should be planned. This season आ रहा है, this season में यही होने वाला है, तो इसके लिए how am I going to respond to it? By spending more or by spending less, by selling more or things like this. So that seasonality has to be clearly understood. When I used to be in life insurance industry, 40 to 50% of the annual business happens in just February and March. Just 2 months. 50% happens in just 2 months time. There is no reason why. There was tax. Originally people were buying because of tax. Tax तो चला गया. But even now people are buying. वो आदत हो गया February March में लेके. वो change नहीं हो रहा है. So now you don't need to question. People always question why sales gets booked on the last day of the month, right? So many entrepreneurs have spent so much of money and time to say why I want to have it uniform through the month and all those things. Okay, you can spend your time and money on trying to change people's behavior, or if sales gets, book the sales on last day of the month. What's the big deal? What's wrong in it, right? So I'm just, it just happens. People will run 31st of March is the last day for filing return, whether it is UK or USA. We got so many clients in US. There is 20th February, I think, is the last day for IRS, right? 20th of February onwards, you cannot talk to anybody else. They'll say, I'm busy. India, same story. You 31st July changes to 31st August, again they are busy on 31st August. This is people's nature. Let us understand that and let us ensure that our budget does not at least run counter to that. This is very, very difficult, but I have seen seasonality and people budget and geographical stuff.
Don't take divide by 12 budgets.
Yeah.
Then your all variances will be wrong.
Yeah.
Maybe should we spend the last next 5 minutes just looking
Yeah,
at
I think we should. We should. No,
Yeah.
that's right. I think we can, what I will do is, I think what are the tools that we want to leave it for you. So, we talked about pricing, right? I don't know whether you guys know about Porter, right? Porter is a big buy on strategy and pricing. Porter has published 5 rules of pricing. So, we have converted the 5 rules into a tool. So, you can actually play around with that. So, that is one tool. We will just send it to you. The second tool is
Assessment.
how to judge the efficiency of your finance team. So we will give you a tool.
There are some
Ask
questions
lot
if
of
you
questions.
answer, then one is budget preparedness tool, how much
Yeah.
you think while preparing the budget, and there is a fixed cost. Ideally, budget should have a massive discussion on fixed cost, but of course in 1 hour, 1.5 hour, we can only do this.
What
So
are the
those
other
four tools are there. I'll send it to Somil.
Send it, sir.
Yeah. So there are 3 are on assessment. One is on fixed cost assessment. So it has set of questions where you will say whether you think of it yes, no, low. Then
Yeah.
it will tell you in which area you are focusing more, in which area you are telling less. It is just again directional. They're similar for budgeting exercise while people before preparing budget as a promoter have you thought of this. So these are assessment tools that will help you understand which area is strong, which area is weak. And portal one is more to understand how much are you thinking about the market. These would be certain things or not. I'll share with Somil.
Yeah, we'll share with Samil and you can circulate.
Before we end, or maybe a couple of questions, one last thing that I want to say, the budget review mechanism, one thing is that we do budget review as a promoter, but ideally the good companies I've seen is that the 4 department heads also do separate budget reviews. They don't come and find variances and give it to you. So the finance guys will have a marketing budget review with the marketing guy before having with the promoter. We'll have with the sales guys. They will discuss variance, because you are not going to see if my has a 20 variables, you are interested in 2 variables, you do not have time to go 20 variables or all. That doesn't mean those 20 variables are not discussed. So let a department head also have a budget meetings, which is a detailed budget meeting. And they come to you with all the reasons. They don't come to you to without answer. Hey, sir has asked question, next time I get to know. They review the budget first.
Yeah.
And when they are giving the budget to the board,
Nobody comes to the budget meeting to learn about the variances. They come there
with
to
the
discuss
answers to the
variances.
variations. They may not have a solution, but problem should be known. Solution may be there, may not be there. It's secondary. So this is the best practice.
So let's take any further.
So I can just, if you allow me, just 5 minutes, I just share some of the limitations that I have experienced in budgeting exercise. Okay, because I've been doing this quite a lot, and this is my experience. Of course, this might not be applicable, and since we have Srini and Hitesh here, maybe they can also do it. So some of the limitations that I have faced is, first and foremost, is the quality of data which is being used for doing the budgeting. So the completeness of the data, the accuracy of the data, whether the data is available on a timely basis. I realized over a period of time that is extremely, needless to say, people don't really say, understand once it is put, but that is something which I have found, because we have SAP, a lot of people have ERP. Now ERPs can be designed properly, there can be some mistakes, the data is not really correct, there are different sources of truth. Sometimes someone is doing on Excel, someone is also having an ERP, and then what happens. So we have realized that it's a bit of a problem. Another thing which I realized is, I think that is the third point which Srini was going to touch upon. We have realized that sometimes department heads get very carried away by making the exception as the norm and budgeting as per the exception. you're referring to the Pareto. So every time I need to pull people out, अरे वो case में वैसा हुआ, that's why we should do it always in that way. But then it is maybe one case out of 100 where things have gone wrong. If you want to budget for that one wrong case, then the entire budget goes for a toss. So I realized that making exception as the norm and budgeting can be a big. Another thing is regarding zero-based budgeting. And we have done that. We also do that in a way, but I realized that unfortunately it is again based on historical data. So it becomes like a circular reference. So you want to do a zero-based budgeting, okay, fine. Last में इतना किया, हमें इतने we needed 10 people for doing 100 crores. अभी 150 crore करना है, 15 लोग लेंगे. So it is somewhere where that I realized that one needs to break that, because if we base our zero-based on historical, then we are not really achieving anything. So
but at least you question every expense. I mean, there are two parts to it.
Yeah. Another thing is, of course, we realize the ability of the team to understand all this, right? The maturity, the team competency. Now, the size of companies that all of us have, we have different sizes of companies. But I believe I'm speaking for all when we say that the competency levels of people, be it at the department level or functional heads, they might know their job fantastically well. They know their job is to screw on this top. They will do this fantastically well. But if I ask him, bhai, ab ye 100 bottles ka screw karna hai, there are 10 different varieties and 5 different customers, he gets bogged down. वो नहीं समझता maturity, because the ability of people, of small or medium enterprises to have that kind of people is very difficult. So this is one thing which I've seen. So the competency and the maturity level in understanding. Again, this we already discussed regarding the vision mismatch. So there is always a constant tension, promoter versus the what company is doing, stretch versus business. So my vision might not align necessarily, in spite of doing all visioning exercises and whatever. वो मेरे पीछे बोलता है साला साग इडियट है, कुछ भी बोलेगा, क्या होने वाला है, नॉनसेंस करेंगे जो देखा जाएगा. And that is where the another problem comes in, which mid-year course corrections, which you mentioned. There are things which happen where they are not going as per budget. Now what do? Are you going to be a jackass and say, no, ये मेरा budget है, यही करना है, knowing fully well that in month of February, I know that my March end numbers are not going to be achieved for whatever reason, then saying that, oh, this is the case, or maybe in our kind of scenario, we have a 6 month kind of visibility. So September, October, I know whether I am going to achieve, not achieve, overachieve, underachieve. And then if I make corrections and redo the budgeting at that point of time, then it's a slippery slope, because people know that this budget is anyway going to be revised. If we do, we are damned. If we don't, we are damned. Right? So these are some of the learnings, or let's say my experience around budgeting. I'm not belittling budgeting.
No, absolutely. I think you have, this is very complimentary, very important. I think you're done.
I'm done. As of now, I'm done.
Okay. So there is a
last point of rolling budgets. How do one take care of that? So every quarter, do we keep it and pressure the team to overachieve in the next quarter, or do we say, okay, let's change the numbers?
Yeah. No, I'll come to this. I'll take this.
One more point, if you can add to this, right? Again, budgeting, if it is coming from the same team who sleeps, eat, do all of this, right? Is it really an independent eye, or we need to have someone who looks at it very objectively, comes up and gives some ideas which is beyond the obvious that we are looking at, right? And how much of that can help the entire process?
No, sure.
Just to add to one more thing, since you
Okay. Then you have to write it down.
see, when you're focused on a PAT, when you're focused on a PAT on the budget, right, and you've got multiple revenues verticals, right? Somewhere down the lane, you build your expenses and one vertical does bad. But you're focused on your group PAT, and there are shared costs between these verticals. Now, halfway through, you want to make corrections. And the guy who's already performed, there are such chaotic HR complexities which come at that time that everything goes for a toss at that time. The whole budget literally end up, halfway through into the 7th month or the 8th month, you realize that you need to rework the entire damn thing.